Monsters. What are monsters? A lot of us would just like to think we live in a good world, a safe world. You could walk up to anybody on the streets and say, "Hey, how you doing? Can you light my cigarette?" You know, that's what people we would like to think, But what about all the people like, the Brian Laundries and the guy who killed, George Floyd, the police officer? How about Adolf Hitler? It's a lot of people, you know, all the people that do bad things, I mean, there are rabid dogs. There are animals that are, that would kill you more than an average animal, and there are human beings, that are monsters too. We can always say, well, hey, they just had a bad upbringing. They had a hard life growing up. That's why they're like that. And they're a little, that way because of the way they grew up. But the point is, maybe that's not the case. You can't just make allowances for those people. Maybe they're just monsters. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe Charles Manson, which he wasn't a man. Maybe he was just a monster. A monster in human skin, but a monster still the same. You know, I guess, we don't want to become monsters, but the people, like you and me, good people, there are people out there that don't have the same conscience and the sense of right and wrong that we have as people. They don't think like us. There are dangerous people, monsters walk among us. Monsters walk among us. And we got to be aware there's monsters that walk among us. So, monsters dressed as men, you know. So, we realize there are monsters dressed as men, out on the streets. And, those who beat people to death and murder people, all of those aren't people, those are monsters, is what they are. Anytime you do something to someone, bludgeon someone to death with a heavy object, and you can say, I just had an anger issue, I had a rage problem. But, I got angry for some reason. But, people like that, they lose their humanity because they're monsters. They become monsters when they let their anger or whatever their issues are cause them to do bad things, wife beaters, child abusers, you know, bullies in school, all the people, maybe are more like monsters to some degree, but there's a point, the dropping off point where you become a monster, maybe become a monster, we're the monsters that walk among us. So let's think about the fact that there are monsters who walk among us, and some of them are people with problems, but there's monsters who walk among us out in the world. So let us understand and accept that, and I'll catch you on the flip side.